We're going to make ourselves a little art project here. Got a couple of artists. We got our project board. A 3D wooden puzzle of the Mackinaw Bridge. And a paper model of
the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into here. Bugs. Got the first coat on. Now we're just going to wait for the paint to dry. Nothing more exciting than that. Now we're tearing into the bridge puzzle. Pop out each piece, sand it. Addison's over here sanding a piece right now. Once we figure out what's what, we'll paint everything to color and start putting this thing together. We at least found some directions. Rain moved in on us, so we've brought the project inside to the kitchen table. With the bridge pretty much dry fitted together, we're at least finishing up one of the piers. Now Addison. Now we just got to figure out where each of these road pieces go in.
Do that. Fast. And we stick them. Ah.
Then we get to take it apart and paint it.
What?
Look who's come to join us. Making progress. I think we have the road pieces in order. Alright, time to take it apart.
Ow!
Moving on to the freighter model next. It's a nice paper model, heavy cardstock. So I've got to cut out each of the large sections. You can see that all the detail parts are squared off. So we'll get them all cut out first, get them organized, and start the assembly of the freighter, Edmund Fitzgerald. We got all the sheets cut into more manageable pieces. Now I gotta go dig out the hobby knife and cut out each individual part so we can start making a boat out of it. And these are the kits that I'm working with. The Mackinaw Bridge 3D puzzle kit is about 10 years old. Sorry if there's a little bit of glare in here. So I don't know if you can still find this. Looks like it was made by a company called Human Article, is what that says. Now these Lake Freighter minis, they are still available. Found these at a local hobby shop. They make all kinds of different freighter models. Now we have all of the parts painted, and it's time to start putting this puzzle together. I'm sure glad I numbered these road pieces. They're a little tricky to get in there just right. On a few of them I had to trim these tabs right here on the edge a little bit to make them fit in between the girders. That's starting to come along. Alright, all put together. Now we just got to position it on the board and then we'll string the cables probably towards the end. Well, the lake boat model's coming along. There's a lot of cutting involved. It's nothing hard, but I do recommend, highly recommend, a comfortable pair of scissors. Looking good. Oh, the paper model of the lake boat's coming right along. I've been working on these hatches. They've been kind of tedious because they're very small and have to be folded. But one thing I like about this kit is it comes with these jigs or spacers like this, which helps with the construction process. This way we can space each one of these hatches exactly the same. So it's a nice little touch. And Oreo decided to join us. Now it's time to make our water. Something like this. Or this. Or this. Or this here. The only difference in all of this is pretty much the color that you want to go with. Other than that, the water is all made the same way. So we're getting ready to do the water. Before that, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can barely see it. But I traced the freighter so that when we put it on here, it will sit flush onto this board and not sit on the water, because the water is going to have an uneven surface when the medium dries. So what do I use to make my water? Mod Podge gloss. I've also used the high gloss. I find that the high gloss is a lot thinner than this. Still works good. It reminds me of the Woodland Scenics ready to use water. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not the same thing or very similar. But this Mod Podge gloss seems to work very well. I usually do 2 or 3 coats, depending on the shine or maybe even the appearance of depth that I'm going for. And then really the only thing that's different about all the different bodies of water that I've shown was the color that you choose underneath. So for this, we're going for a deep blue, and I think it's going to look really sharp against this Mackinaw Bridge. Well, let's get ahead and start putting it down. We've got our first coat, or our base coat of Mod Podge painted in place. As far as the brush strokes go, I like to paint it in the direction of current. So there'll definitely be another coat on top of this. Now, if you want to have waves and ripples and things like that in your water, you can start that with this layer, or you can wait until the next layer. But all I do is just dab the brush along like this. And it starts to produce waves. Now for this model, the scale is quite small, so the waves are going to be small. But if you want your waves bigger, want your water choppier, just get more aggressive with your brush. And I'll do this for each layer that I put down. Well, in about a couple hours here, this should be dry, nice and clear, shiny, and ready for the next coat. Now for this project, this body of water was just placed on a solid flat board. So there was no need to seal it ahead of time other than the paint. Now if you're using the thinner products like the ready-made Woodland Scenics water or the high gloss Mod Podge, which is, like I said, is very much almost the same thing as the Woodland Scenics water. In my opinion, it just appears to be the same material, medium. In that case, with a thinner material, you'll probably want to seal your surface first with a caulk, or even the flex paste from Woodland Scenics. Or if you're not using a hard surface, maybe you just want your body of water over some plaster or somewhat. Seal it first, or else the product will probably leak through. So we know there's a boat in the water. We know the boat is moving through the water in that direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to make behind the boat, where the propeller is, the water's all churned up and choppy. So this is where we get more aggressive with the water. We want to make it, give it that choppy appearance. And this will get a couple layers, maybe even 3 or 4. And then after it dries, I'll probably dry brush in a little bit of white paint to really show that choppiness. And then also, as the boat's moving through the water, it's going to create ripples. It's going to push the water. So we want to do that just by painting these lines. There we are. Painting these lines coming out from the bow. Just like that. Kind of see it from the other side. Again, we might have to do a couple passes. Just like that. So now we're ready to do our second coat. Want to do your coats rather thin, that way they only take a couple hours to dry. Another factor to drying time is the humidity. I've seen some coats take weeks to dry because of a very humid condition. As you can see, there's still some white spots showing, but that's okay. It won't hurt the second coat. Let's go ahead and get it applied. I like using these foam brushes because they make really nice ripples and waves just from their texture. As you can see. Also, this Mod Podge doubles as an adhesive. So if you want to put boats or people or even little birds or something in the water, you can put them in there now while it's wet. And when it dries, they'll be glued into the water. While the second coat of water is drying, I decided to go ahead and rig up the cables. The Mackinaw Bridge puzzle came with black string or yarn, but the real cables are green. So I picked up some green yarn, went ahead and got that strung. This thing is really starting to come together. Of course, once this water dries, all that white will disappear. So if I want to add any white highlights, I have to do that with white paint. Just applied the third coat. This time the oar boat is in place. So I've got the Mod Podge going right up against the freighter hull. This should secure it into place on the diorama. You can see the different water effects. Obviously this is a fresh coat, so it's still pretty white. So by morning this should be all dry. The project as a whole is coming to a close here pretty soon. Only a few more detailed parts to put on the boat, and we'll call this one finished. Fourth and final coat of Mod Podge. All the detail parts are on the boat. That's say this project is pretty much finished. Just have to wait for the hot box